We're talking about this toxic wastewater. It was coming, and then they paused it, and now they're dumping it again. For you, the question is notification. Explain what it is exactly you want to make sure happens in the future.
Well, for me, there are many issues. Serving on the Homeland Security Committee for over 20 years, I have really delved into hazardous waste. I've dealt with chemical reform, if you will, in the chemical industry, the procedures for transferring chemicals. So this is a national issue. In fact, it impacted the people in the state of Michigan on several fronts. Yes, lack of notice. Who would have ever known that there was no protocol for the company to notify anyone in the federal government, including the EPA? When this came to my attention from local officials, how they had not heard of it, I think they might have heard it first from your station. I called the White House, the Secretary of Transportation, and the EPA administrator, who was stunned that Norfolk Southern was sending this kind of toxic material 1,300 miles to Texas, and of course, to Michigan. So the first order is to provide a new protocol. And out of my engagement, the EPA indicated, not only paused, but indicated that Norfolk Southern should not do any more disposal without it being reviewed by the EPA. That's a great step forward. We want to help the people of East Palestine, but it cannot be that one disaster may potentially be another disaster.
So going forward beyond this instance, the EPA will review the material that's being moved. Is that what you're saying?
They'll review the protocols that are being used and where the private company is suggesting that they might send this waste. Let me be very clear. This is unknown territory. The train carried a multiple amounts of gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons of chemical product. And so the fire was catastrophic. And basically, it was a fire seen around the world. And it was considered a significant disaster. And I feel for the people of East Palestine. So that was the first order, is that it was such a disaster and so dangerous that Norfolk Southern should not be doing this without oversight by the EPA. So the pause and the stopping of waste coming into Texas was a big step forward. At that time, they decided to utilize the sites in Ohio, but when they were exhausted, they had to find other sites. So here's where we are. They know there's a site here. There's a company here that has a history of doing this kind of work. And so they have, in essence, restarted the ability of this company to take in waste. But because of my engagement, it's totally different. It will not be shipped 1,300 miles by a truck. It will be railroaded, if you will. And of course, railroads can derail, but railroaded. And then at a certain point in around this area, it will then be taken by truck to this site. Secondarily, there will be a guaranteed EPA expert on site to assure all safety protocols are in place. And then thirdly, EPA is now assessing what other sites around the country that can be utilized by East Palestine and Norfolk Southern, because the amount of waste is an unbelievable amount. It is an unspeakable amount, and it will be going on for a long time.
So you're saying spread it out if you have to.
Yes, yes.
So
and in a protected manner, and to notify the local officials of this product coming in.
So I want to be clear. So when the first shipments came here, did it come by rail or by truck?
By truck.
It came by truck.
By truck.
I didn't know that. So you're saying, one, it should come by rail, which you think is more secure, I'm assuming. Two, an expert here should review the protocols once it's here, and also look at other potential sites for disbursement.
You have it absolutely, but those are done deals, meaning that it will come by rail. As I said, because of my engagement, it has been an altered transport. It'll be by rail, and when it gets into the vicinity, then by truck. and EPA experts should be on the ground already at the site, and will continue to be on the site. And then the EPA, because of the concern of all communities across the nation, it will look for a multiple of communities in this ongoing effort to clean up East Palestine. So they are in the process of looking at those alternatives as we speak, and there should not be an excessive amount coming in to Texas. In fact, it will be a reduced amount. And so we've made great steps forward to be fair in helping East Palestine with a company that has been in business for a long time in this area, but also to recognize that that product comes through neighborhoods. How does it do so? Everyone knows that our freeways go through neighborhoods in Houston, Harris County. And so we want to make sure that we protect all of the people of this community.
I guess, but the very first thing, and you've already mentioned this in earlier interviews, tell somebody, right? It's like, hey, this is, who should they tell? The EPA should contact who? Lena Hidalgo, Mayor Turner, what?
Well, let me be very clear. The federal government was stunned. You know, sometimes they are of good intentions, and I will tell you, they got on it immediately. Of course, as you know, President Biden has a door-to-door knock in East Palestine to check on all the residents who are now evidencing rashes, temperatures, sickness to the stomach, and we don't know how long this is going to go on. He has mandated that his team is down there. Secretary Buttigieg has been down and made the point that the railroads are very, very poor in upkeep and providing compliance with the laws that govern them. The NTSB said this was 100% avoidable. And then the EPA administrator that has been just a champion on the ground indicated, as did the others, they did not know that Norfolk Southern was able to make their own decisions about where the waste would go without notification. Sometimes, laws that are not precisely written that Congress may have to fix, and the administration may have to look at the laws that are applicable. It looks like Norfolk Southern thought they did not have to notify anyone. So they were not notified. I made the call to each of them to be able to say, this is what's happening. And so that will change. You're absolutely right. The mayors, the county officials, we hope members of Congress who are impacted because of the reach of this impact, and the governors and anyone else that may be in need of information. This is going to change. I think that is a big step because we were literally stunned that information did not come to these local officials. By the way, they have been particularly diligent, and it was my role just to be able to make that pathway of communication to the federal officials for them to move quickly on behalf of this community.